Hey, what's up, Polar fam? This is Shabbear here for our weekly Polar Community AMA in our Discord on this beautiful August 24th, 2022 at 8 p.m. UTC. Uh, let's see what time is in the other time zones. I don't know because brain is not working right, or it's tomorrow morning if you're in the lands of Keith. I see him in here as well, the Australia New Zealand region. I believe it's tomorrow morning already. So good morning to you guys as well out there, wherever you might be in the world, morning, evening, etc. This is our outlet to be able to engage with the community one on one every single week. Here, same time, same place in the Discord, 8 p.m. UTC. We are here to go over all the information that has recently happened, go over what is to come, but also, of course, answer any questions that you guys might have, whether that's just about Polar itself, whether it's about whatever you have on your mind. I'm always here to talk with you about that. So please, if you do have any questions, simply request to speak and I will bring you up here live. Or just go into our AMA Questions Weekly channel and then type your questions in there and I will answer them as well. Julian is not feeling very well today, so he will not be joining me. So it might just be me up here unless someone else wants to jump up and sort of co-host. I'll never tell them no. But if not, we are up here doing our thing like always. We've had a busy week, though, in the Polarverse, right? I think we can all say. So it's been a couple of different things that have come into fruition since our last community AMA. Great news, 3.5 went live. If you were not on the Discord for 2 days, you might have missed it. And I don't mean that rudely. So yeah, check out the announcements. We kind of went into maybe some of the things that occurred for why we pulled back. We did bring 3.5 live. It was a little bit too buggy for our comfort and for our I worded it how I worded it in the announcement. You can kind of go read from there. But it wasn't quite a product that we were happy to deliver out there how it was, right? So with that being said, we take full responsibility for that, and I've talked with Enor directly. Yeah, just because we have developers working on things doesn't mean that, one, we don't want to be micromanaging, and he doesn't want to be micromanaging to them, but we should check the work, maybe even run a public beta on different things like we've done in the past, allow you guys to go in, find the bugs, give your feedback, and then kind of go from there. I like that kind of strategy because all the contracts worked just fine, but some of the visuals and the interface wasn't quite up to par. So that said, we took a little bit of a step back in order to take a couple steps forward is how I'm wording that there. So we brought 3.5 out, we increased the cost of nodes, and you guys know me, you've been in the community since January, I've been here with you. There was one node purchase in that 36-hour window or whatever it was before we pulled it back, or 24 hours or whatever it may have been. So it wasn't a substantial amount of time, and obviously the purchases weren't there. That's okay. That's somewhat okay, to be honest. We just refunded them manually, brought it back to 3.1. This allows us to kind of, refocus the efforts here. We have more of the developmental team working on the front end and back end work to kind of make this next update for 3.5 and 4.0 much cleaner, much stronger, and much more efficient for those in the Polar community to interact with. That's very important to have a good product out there. You can't just have a product and hope that it's all good, right? So I don't want that to be the case. I want you guys to, to want to interact with the site in a variety of different ways. And maybe that's simplifying it for some and making it more gamification for others. There's a variety of different things that could be done, but a lot of that's going to be worked on in the meantime. So we're kind of back to where we were last week. Token price has actually taken a good positive reflection since we went back to 3.1, which is fantastic. Still a lot of work to be done. Obviously, I don't think, I can say from my perspective, community manager perspective, our goal is in 0.01, right? So while it's good to have a positive over the last couple of days, we have much higher goals. We're not just going to say, okay, cool, we're at 0.01, we're good. We want to get it up higher and higher and higher so that the token price is basically in demand to those who are engaging with it from as well. So a lot of things like that, working on that end, all on different levels. So we'll keep kind of playing that out as we go in a variety of different ways. So without further ado, what are the latest updates? So since the last time we've had this community AMA, there was a investment opportunities on multiple levels, trying to wrap my brain around each and every one of them. Sorry about that there. So there was two different investments. I went to Ego. One was already live last week. It was 50,000, and then we added another 100,000 into that investment as well. I find that to be a pretty progressive piece of this puzzle here. And we also have a variety of other investments that have been working with us since last week. Enor sent me an update today, so I'll kind of go over the results that we've had thus far. So last week's Ego investment, this is during the week of last week. What are the dates there? Sorry, give me a second. The 15th to, I believe, the 20th or 21st. So sometime last week is when all these numbers were occurring, right? So our Ego trading bot, at the time we had 50,000 into it, and we generated a $3,500 profit, which is a 7% return. In the other ones, we have a few different other trading bots working. We have two different Bitcoin scalp bots. We have an AVAX trading bot and a Solana trading bot. The Bitcoin, one of which is a long and short capable one, and the other one is, I believe, just a long. And then the AVAX one is long and short. Sol is long and short. The Ego one is a long and short, but it'll change based off of longer term trends instead of immediate individual trades. So that's kind of how each of them work. But all in all, last week, between all those different strategies, we made $5,411.48 of outside revenue, which was an effective 28.48% of our return on what we put into it initially. So these trading bots, just what we had the money in last week, netted us 28% profit gain off of those trading bots. That's pretty cool. That's great. Money isn't locked up anywhere. So like if we needed to pull out any or all of this money right now, we could very, very simply. So this is sort of the longer term approach that we're working at there. We will likely add in some more money to each of these as well. We're going to add in, I know we've already transferred some money, but we'll have it so that Bitcoin, the one Bitcoin scalp will be a $20,000 total, and it's at $5,000 currently, so we'll add 15,000 of that. There will be another for the Bitcoin swing, which will add $20,000 to that, which will bring that to 30,000 total. We will have an Ethereum swing, which we have nothing in currently, but that'll be up to 20,000 once we get all the money funded there. AVAX swing, which we already have 10,000 in, will be raised up to 20,000, and the Solana swing bot will be raised another 10,000 from 10,000 to 20,000 as well. So we'll be doubling a few of them. We'll be adding some more money in, and we do genuinely believe that this is going to be a good strategy. Now, is every single week going to be profitable? Probably not. Is every single trade going to be profitable? Of course not. But they all have built-in strategies that are strong for their certain aspects to them. And when you start doing the data of back trading, if anybody in here kind of likes that financial industry, you can take a strategy and run it back in time. So whether these strategies were built or not doesn't matter. You can say, hey, per these parameters, how would it have done every month over the last 6 months? And then you can get a good assessment, a good idea of how those trades would have played out. And in every one that we've done, the positive months are very, very significantly positive, and there's either 1 or 2 negative months, and they are very low negative. We're talking, I think one was like -7 or 6%, and maybe one was like I think the worst was a -11% in a month. And then we've had other months where the AVAX one and the Solana one were plus 600% in a month. Solana was in a particular one. That was during that May month where it was incredibly volatile. The bot worked, it went into the chaos, and it thrived. That's generally how trading bots work, is when it's very stable, they do okay. They're going to get you some good stable returns, but in high times of volatility, they do even better. So while we struggle, they can do kind of the legwork for us on that aspect, which I do appreciate, in a variety of different ways associated with that. So a lot of good things working on from there. Once those outside revenue streams come in, Enor's talked about in the chat a little bit of kind of how we'd like to orchestrate the profits over time in reference to those who own the NFTs or the nodes in our case. And that'll be almost like a revenue share model that can come back and support the node project on a different variety of levels. To me, that's very exciting. I like having that. That's tangible. It's very, very less Ponzi economic based because it's money coming in from outside, and then you can set it up as a distribution of a variety of different kinds. So I already see there's a couple of questions gone into that. We will dive into that a little bit deeper as we go, but I do think it's a positive swing to where we are now. We're able to take a little bit of a step back, and then of course now eyes opened, we kind of all refocused, and for better or worse, when things don't work out according to plan, fortunately for us, Enor is even more motivated, and I'm even more motivated, and everyone on the team becomes even more motivated to make it better, because we're not in this for, glory and fame and riches. We're in this for success for the business and for, of course, everyone who invested with us. So if something doesn't go quite according to plan, honestly, not great. It's not a great visual look, but it allows us to kind of say, okay, let's strap down and figure this out the correct way, and that's the best way to do it, in my opinion, here. So it allows us to then pave a path that could be greater into the future. There will very likely be a migration at some point in the future as well. I don't have a date for that just yet, but as we get to the 4.0, we may or may not do a 3.5 to 4.0. I haven't really talked to Enor about that, but quite frankly, I would just want the new DApp, the new kind of interface, resolved and refined a bit. And Ayazlur, I'm sure I mispronounced your name. I see you in the audience. Shout out to you. Their team is helping with us. The Polaris team is helping with the Node interface as well, so that we can get all that going and get that launched appropriately and a little bit more timely. Josh already has all the contracts either in very, very late stage or completed for 3.5 and 4.0. So it's more so just having everything work together, and that'll really allow it to thrive once we get to that next step, which is a good thing for all of us on a variety of different levels there. So a lot of big things happening. I know there was a little bit, we wanted a different change last week. Hey, it is what it is. We have to reassess. But fortunately for everyone in the community and for my own mentality, we don't work under like some crazy, dictatorial kind of leader. Enor is very open to conversation, and he's also very keenly aware of the community's reactions to everything that goes on here. So it allows us to really genuinely work together over time, which is fantastic. I can look back literally since I got on as a CM way back in January. Enor was always my primary point of contact, just because I like the way he can actually discuss things and kind of interact from there. Again, no hate to the other members of the team. It's just he has a very approachable personality, and he's actually willing to listen and kind of think through a variety of different options, which is fantastic there. So another great announcement that we can kind of go into here is we have started looking into the potential development of a sort of a mini game for Polar, separate from Polaris, separate from 4.0, separate from everything that is already going on. But Predzert, I'm sorry, again, going to butcher your username as well, reached out to us last week. I know he kind of got the chat sort of popping a little bit at one point, and I don't know if I came off as frustrated, but I didn't mean to. I just don't like the community to get things that they're, get promised things that they might not have. But the good news is the ideas that he has are actually good. So the proper channels are being worked through there. We're working on, he's coordinating with a couple other teams to try to find a way to make this as cost effective, but also engaging as possible, so that ideally we can get one of these, kind of like a battle royale style game, kind of similar to like the old school Bomberman stuff out there live for Polar. Is this going to be groundbreaking? Probably not, but it could be fun. It could be engaging. And ideally it's a way for us to, at least get something that is a little bit different and, progressive to our community for not a significant cost, which I'm all for. I actually think that's pretty cool on a variety of different levels. So I like that kind of stuff there. That'll be good for everybody involved on that end. So we have a lot going on behind the scenes. I know not a lot of us gone live recently. People have been frustrated at different times lately, but I think the sentiment is actually relatively positive since we brought it back to 3.1. So definitely appreciate you guys, being even the constructive criticism. We love constructive criticism. Personally speaking, that's to me, that's what I like to see there, is good positive feedback, not positive in the sense that, hey, good job, but positive in the sense that, hey, this is what we see. Here's an idea to consider. Here's why it might not be working as well as you thought it would. Things like that. I like that because it's good. It helps us all there. If you jump in the chat and say, this sucks, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, then good, congratulations. Go, complain somewhere else, to be honest. I might even just make a complain channel in the Discord, and people can just go complain there all they want, free of consequence, unless they become violent. So kind of a joke, but not really. So try to be constructive criticism. I like that there. I think that's good and healthy for the community and for the business. And we have a pretty good audience in here. So Since I've just talked for 15 minutes straight and I don't have someone to take the breath from me to recover, I will just kind of engage with you guys as we start going through questions. But that was the main updates there. I'll try to get those bots trading profits put up into the chats here, maybe even while I'm speaking live. We'll see there. Sometimes I'm better at multitasking than others, so we will kind of see how that goes. If my just like right now, if my voice tends to drift a little bit, then obviously that's me trying to copy different things and set out some different announcements. So a lot of good things are coming. But of course, if you guys have any questions in the meantime, please raise your hand, request to speak here. I'll bring you up live on the stage with me and we can chat. Or as always, type away in the AMA Questions Weekly channel and I will answer your questions live here with me. So I'm going to kind of go back in time here. And I will start with Tuda80. So just so you guys know, I am also navigating through Discord on my own. So if you do raise your hand, I will check back in between questions. I'm not trying to ignore you. I just can't see if someone raised their hand while I'm also in the AMA Questions Weekly channel. But I will check there in between questions, so fear not, we will take care of it there. But the first question from Tuda80. Why can't we set up staking with Brew Labs? Pay out whichever stable coin we are using for potions or node purchases. People won't need to sell or pour to get money to purchase. They can earn it instead. Should be done soon, so people are ready for the update. So Brew Labs is a good company there. We do have our own staking contract that we've had kind of sitting on for a while here, trying to best implement the different designs and structures of that. So there is a couple of different things that we can do with that there. I have recently talked to Enor about staking. I think that would be a positive. I'd prefer to do it through our own smart contract because obviously Brew Labs is a company and they are a good company. I like Brew Labs. They have a great smart contract for airdrops and all sorts of good things. But there's fees associated with said companies, right? So if we have the opportunity to do it on our own, I would love to do that. But that being said, obviously we're always open to different options there and kind of look into the pros and cons of each one. So Brew Labs, they'll even potentially make one for your platform. So good things that can come from there. I like the guys over at Brew Labs. They're good people. I've had some dealings with them in the past and they're always positive. And if there are delays or anything, they're super transparent and super open. So I like them. They're a good company. Ismail, don't you think that allocating 50% of the profits to buybacks and burns will be beneficial more than distributing them on holders, as Enor said? So this would be in reference to the bot revenue, right? So the trading bot revenue, what Enor mentioned there was basically taking a broader perspective to the future. So there's different ways to address the token price and the token allocation over time. But let's just say worst case scenario that the Polar token being supported directly by Polar token is not a very practical means to solve our current problems, right? It's very possible where maybe the inflationary effects are very far and it would take a substantial period of time to get back there. Well, this is a way for us to either transition to or support the node holders by having an airdrop mechanism directly from the revenue obtained from the trading bots. And all that is saying is hey, we are still going to work for you. This is your money from the treasury. This is the money that you guys put in that is in our treasury for us to work for the business to go back and obviously support you guys as the investors, right? So that's our job here. So by having this mechanism, maybe we can have a structure for which a Polar token rebounds super smoothly, and then it's really not a super big issue. We can kind of assess from there. But that being said, it could take some time, or it could be, different challenges could arise that maybe we're not super aware of. So with that being said, it's very easy. We just kind of play it by ear, but we have these mechanisms already working. We can allow them to grow and begin to profit as they already have, as we still structure our same strategy and then also expand our opportunities to maybe develop out to a further strategy beyond that could be in support of that over time. So it's basically just a way for us to broaden our horizon a bit. I think the idea of at least 50% going back to the node holders is a very good thing for everyone that is involved with the project right now. I think that's a more productive solution to many of our problems. Even if the money isn't what it was back in March, April, it could still be better than it is today, relatively simply. So I like all of that there. A lot of that good stuff could come from that. I kind of look forward to seeing how that's going to evolve, but Enor has some good ideas in reference to that, and we'll be kind of laying those out as the groundwork starts falling between the other things. So I really like some of that going as well. Okay, next question from Red Light Magic Nodes. I want to grow my portfolio with you, but $105 for an Everest just seems wild. ROI will be forever with Polar's current price, especially with new entrants to the project. Can this be reviewed, please? Good news, Red Light Magic Nodes. It has been reviewed. It is already back to what they were before. So an Everest cost $1,050 Polar. It does not cost $105 and stable anymore. That went back to where it was when we brought back the update from 3.5 back down to 3.1. Check over my most recent announcement in the main announcement channel, and I kind of go into detail on each and every aspect of that. But the good news for you is that we've already considered and we've acted on it. So that's great for all of us as well. So great question there. Definitely appreciate that. Sorry, just also checking to make sure that no one raised their hand. Again, if you guys do want to raise your hand, I am more than happy to facilitate that and give my vocal cords just a little bit of break, because trying to breathe in between breaths is more difficult than it seems. And I don't know how rappers do it, but they are pretty good at it. And I envy that sometimes. So shout out to them as well. Next question from CJ. Would you consider a gradual increase in the price of nodes, i.e. raise the price by 10 to 20% per week? I think that would be a good solution, CJ. I kind of like that as well. There's a variety of different ways that we can start working into that there. I think this step back is going to allow us to take those things into consideration. I think that's a pretty interesting mechanism to really kind of funnel into the longer term vision, right? So Enor's always talked about the different aspects of the trying to get that price back to 0.10, for example. That's kind of how we're basing our goals off of, and we're going to do different things to support that there. That could be one way to do it. You gradually ease people into it. I've even seen it in the chat and also thought about the strategy where, for example, if you charge 1,500 Polar for an Everest, well, there's a point right now where many people can actually afford that. That's very, very likely to come, right? So we can, many people can do that right now. Not everybody can, of course, but a lot of people could. So you would just say 1050 goes to the original allocation, and then 450 goes right to a burn wallet, for example. It's still a little bit tricky, but it's at least a way to say, hey, instead of you selling those or compounding into them, we can at least then remove them from circulation so that they're not sold in the future. And that's just one way to start changing the progress there. It's a little bit trickier than that, but that kind of philosophy I like, including yours as well. All right, next question for Fender Bender. Could we base the revenue share on tokens held to encourage HODL? Your NFT would still be a critical part of building your token bag to grab more of the revenue share. Could also encourage buying the token to increase revenue share. I'm not smart at this stuff, but I am, so I'm sure I'm missing something. So Fender Better, I don't think you're missing anything. I think the best way to do that is actually kind of what you're saying, but add one more element to it and say, hey, maybe there's a revenue share system for nodes held and also a revenue share system for staking of the Polar token. And you can structure them like how farms are, right? So if there is a X amount of allocation to the farm, that's what the APY is based of. I don't know if you guys really truly dig into how liquidity pools and farms and all that work in the space, but that's basically how it works. Is they set an APY that's going to be encouraging liquidity, but over time, as more money goes into them, generally the APY decreases. This could be the same thing. Let's say you had 50% of the allocation to the node holders, 50% of allocation to staked Polar token holders. Just in a theory, trust me, this is not what I'm saying is going to happen, but this is a good theory, so I want to play through this. Then you could say, okay, that pool of token holders, you could say, cool, no lock. There's a pool for that. There's a 7-day lock. There's a 4-week lock. There's a 365-day lock. You can do these different things, and it'll give you different APR based on the amount of tokens you have in there allocated to those different pools in a variety of different ways. That's generally how pool tokens and farm tokens work. It is a very clean strategy. It's worked over time. Now, you'd have to pay it in stables, which actually then also solves the problem of inflation, which happens with a lot of farm tokens like Cake. So that actually solves a lot of problems in one swing. Now, the developmental side of that, do we need to host it on a DEX? Can we just host it on our platform? All of that are things that could be worked through from there. I'm sure Josh can kind of look into that. But actually, I do really like that idea as well. So I will pass that up. If you also like kind of how I expanded that, let me know and I'll pass that up in that structure. Or if you think I could have elaborated on that into a little bit of a different mechanism, of course, let me know and I'll pass that up accordingly, as always. Next one from Arnosade. Arnosade, are you planning to set a cap on the total nodes available? Seems like an endless increase is draining the pool. Yes, in a sense. I would like to have a cap. I honestly would have loved to have a cap a while back. It just wasn't practical at that time. If you were back here in April, we actually planned on having a hard cap at one point, and we had to sort of backtrack because there was no money coming in from outside revenue. Of course, we didn't think about trading bots back then. They are doing super well. It is what it is. Too bad, so sad. We missed that, right? It is, can't cry over spilled milk. I think once we start getting some of these other things live, I would love to have a cap on nodes. Now, that could be played in a variety of different ways. You could then start utilizing maybe our marketplace with a floor value and say a percentage of that goes back to the protocol so that there's X amount hard capped, but they could still be sold at the floor price on our marketplace if people want them. It still benefits the protocol. It allows people an entry. It allows people an exit. That's a relatively simple mechanism to facilitate that sort of trading mechanism. And we also have that NFT marketplace. Now, I don't know the capabilities of that marketplace. If it could support that kind of volume, I honestly don't know. I know it was designed to be our own marketplace. I don't know I just don't know the technicalities behind it, to be honest. That was kind of phrase work way back in the day, so we have to look a little bit more into that. But that would be a good thing. Emissions are a problem, and that is one way to solve it there. Let's see. Next question here. Thor Bob, do you plan to sweep the gains on the trading bots daily, weekly? So by sweep, I'm not sure if you mean by take them out and distribute or by compound them and sweep them back into the pools themselves. So if I'm not too sure what you're saying at, I'll answer both. Do we plan on sweeping the gains back into the bots? They automatically compound in. So the way we have these set up through our API is it takes a percentage of the total amount of money that's in this account and it says, hey, this percentage goes into this strategy, this percentage goes into this strategy, so on and so forth. And then that allows them to auto basically compound into themselves. Now, with that said, we can take them out daily, we can take them out weekly, we can take them out monthly and distribute them as we want to go. I don't want to interrupt myself, but hey, I'm sorry about that, Keith. Sorry, I missed people raising their hand. I apologize there, man. But I'll kind of let Enor work out the specific structure that he wants to play with that as well. I'll answer your question if you're still here, because I know you have to go. So I'll answer your question next, Keith. But yeah, we'll kind of play out, and we'll also be very transparent on how we're going to structure those proceeds. So Keith, again, just want to apologize for you. Sorry I did not see you had your hand up. I'm over here in this other channel. Congrats on the rollback. Hey, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, yeah, that was just more so a conversation. So hey, man, shout out to you. And yeah, honestly, it takes a little bit to look in a mirror and say, hey, this ain't good. Whatever we have here is not the right thing, right? And I think that's what I want to make clear in my announcement is while I'm not a developer by any means, and I'm not going to claim to be, it's just not a good product to put out there. So I feel you there, man. We work for the community. I've said this every day and every week since I came back in here in January. You guys are what we work for every single day. So we have to structure this for you, and it was not user friendly. So we can't do it, right? So that being said, we don't, we have to take a step back. We're not just going to leave a relatively unfocused plan out there to run its course while we try to fix it live. It's just not good to do. Okay, next one from Cosmic Renegade. Actually, let me jump over to Thor Bob. I'll follow up with yours. Okay, when do we plan to realize the gains, remove them from the bots, and put them into things like stables so we don't give back the gains? Okay, cool. So I'll kind of let Enor handle that structure there. We've talked about it a little bit. I think he has a monthly mechanism in his mind, but That could change. Like I said, generally speaking, if you let these things compound, they really do well over time. And the strategies that we've kind of back tested and backlogged, they would have done so well over the last 3 months. And it's wild to think, even if there was like a negative month, they would be multiple hundreds of times in gains. Now, granted, that was a lot of volatility the last few months, right? So past months are not going to necessarily be a reflective of future results, but it's a good guideline to base it off of. You run back trades for 6 months and say, okay, this is how I would have done. So ideally, we'll take some out, ideally at least monthly, to just start distributing it somewhere else. Just obviously protect for that risk management. But really, if he does decide on keeping them in there, that's going to be the most advantageous thing, in my personal opinion. Really allow them to work and compound and do all that dirty work for us of making money on the outside. All right, Cosmic, I'm going to go back to you. Cosmic Renegade, before prices increase in nodes in the future, can we please get an update or a heads up so that we can purchase nodes beforehand? I feel the community would respond very positively if we did that change. So, Cosmic, I actually like that idea. That being said, it is complicated. So, if emissions are a problem, when we say, hey, so actually, perfect example, when we retracted to 3.1, the amount of nodes, Everest in particular, that were created immediately following that next 2 hours was insane. It was wild. The demand was very, very high, which is a great thing. But unfortunately, it's a great thing for today, but maybe not so much in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 months, etc. So as more and more nodes are created, there's more emissions emitted out there into the world. I don't necessarily see it as a positive thing in the long run. I'm not saying it's a negative for people to create nodes. I'm just saying we have to kind of think on a longer term scale and say, hey, maybe encouraging a significant amount of nodes to be created at one time could be a little bit of an issue. Now that being said, if we only increase the price by 10 or 20%, people would not have been as upset. Increasing them by 1,000% by 10 times, I got it. I understand. I totally understand how that wasn't taken kindly by the community. Rocket, I will read your question out loud just so everyone can hear it. Let me go make sure no one's raised their hand first so I don't do this again. So I apologize. Okay. Oh, Victor Tun, I saw you raise your hand real quick and then you vanished. I don't know if you still have it up, but you don't anymore. So we're going to bring up Crypto Kruger. Once you accept the invite, you will be live up here on the stage. If, of course, you do still want to speak, and if you are actually still here, who knows? I will keep filibustering until you get up, but if you do come up, my voice will be very thankful because I've been talking for 33 minutes nonstop. What's going on, Crypto Kruger?
Can you hear me all right, Chip?
I can hear you just well, man. How are you doing today?
All right, perfect. Hey, number one, want to do a shout out to you with all your accomplishments and congratulations on all your projects and endeavors. So I, as an investor, truly appreciate what you have done for the community and continue to do so, man. Rock on. So on another factor, I'm kind of in ideas, man. I've sent you, DMs and stuff, and thank you for reaching back out to me. And I may not know, a lot about, the crypto world and node world and all that stuff, but the idea of trading bots, it really, really fascinates me. And with being a pretty good investor in Polar myself, having 100 some odd Everest and all that good stuff, I'm kind of thinking it's like you just keep on, these beautiful looking NFTs, have kind of, in a way, in my opinion, have lost their kind of soul in a way, the Polar soul. So how do we bring that brand back? Well, why couldn't we have an idea to where, maybe to version 4 or later versions was where we cap off all the, your Everest, your Ushuaia, and I can't even pronounce that right, your Olympus and all that stuff, cap them off. That's the deadline for buying your purchase of that. And then you take them, you set another line of NFTs that provide our own trading bot utility that sends out a trading bot to provide for ourselves, and that it degenerates, and then we pour back money into that bot so that we can, keep the ROIs of what we want, keep it progressing. If you want to keep on reinvesting that. Now, how you do that, for the people that are buying the current NFTs right now, they would trade in for whatever tier trading bot you want, and you can make it cool. You can make it like, building a polar bear or something like that, a robotic polar bear. I don't know, make it fun. But that's an idea I kind of had, swinging around. I think it'd be beneficial for people. I think it'd be fun. I think people would want to keep on reinvesting and reinvesting with, actual, like, using their own out-of-pocket money instead of the concurrent, accumulation of Polar. So, or maybe using, both, a Polar and a USD or BNB or something like that, or AVAX, excuse me. So I don't know. It's just an idea. I'm throwing it out to you.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a fantastic idea, and that's kind of on the same wavelength that I've been talking with Enor about. That would constitute a pretty drastic change in the totality of the protocol, but I don't think a bad one. I think we have to sort of open our minds into the future. Nodes they were the top of the world January, February, March, and then we've kind of seen what happened. They become very, very, very hard to manage because they're constant emitters. And unlike rebase protocols, if you want to sell out on all your tokens, well, your node still is producing more. So you never are actually fully out, to be honest. It's actually relatively a major issue with node protocols is if someone doesn't like you anymore, or they just don't want to be invested with you, they can just keep cashing out indefinitely. So that would be a solution to it. It's changing up the game just a little bit, capping sort of the old and moving forward with congruency with a new one, which I do like that idea. I like expanding the ecosystem. I like engaging with things. And the trading bots are a means of real money, and you don't have to promise, 1% APR. You just say, hey, all this money that is generated from the NFTs, 100% goes into this trading bot, and whatever that trading bot returns, it distributes accordingly, stuff like that. So those things could be definitely options to look into in the future. I personally like those ideas in general, and that's definitely something I'll kind of bring up and see if we can start building towards a little bit something that could work alongside the nodes into the future.
No, absolutely, and I believe that, and I understand and I appreciate Polar with going with the P2E games and all that stuff, but every single other company has done that, and like you said, it's not the, it's not going to be the glorification to bring Polar back up in the light. You have to be really, really ambitious, right? So these are ambitious ideas that I think that could in the long run work. So like, what you guys are doing with Polar right now is that you've taken Ego's trading bot and some other trading bots, and you're going to invest in other companies. Well, why can't we bring that down to the micro level? So that's a macro level of what the company as a whole is doing to bring in, liquidity and stuff to kind of knock out some of the downfall and get us into a surplus. Well, why can't we do that into a micro level with the individual investor, and that it degenerates so that we keep on pumping money into it to build, keep that bear bot or whatever, that polar bear bot, keep on investing at the premium ROI. So these are ambitious ideas. I believe that with a lot of time, I think these things can be accomplished, and I think it'll work for Polar's benefits.
Yeah, honestly, I totally agree with you there, and I like the different ideas, and it's a little different approach. Like you said, it's unique, and trying to add elements of success and uniqueness to the space is definitely a positive for everybody involved. So yeah, that's a fantastic idea, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll step down, and I really appreciate once again you guys and that are investors in Polar. Hang in there, man. These guys are trying the best that they can. I saw when they shot to 3.5 that everybody lit their hair on fire. Come on, guys, just calm down. So calm down. They put it back to, they heard your call, and like Shib was saying, just be constructive and be cool about it, right? So all right, I'm gonna take off, and I really appreciate you.
Hey, man, I sincerely appreciate you and thank you for jumping up here. I mean, definitely appreciate it. So shout out to you, man.
All right, take care, man.
All right, cool. Hey, another great question there. Again, if you guys do want to speak live, just simply request to speak. I'll have to be remembering to check them in between reading the other ones. So if you're requesting to speak and I'm ignoring you, just pop into the AMA Questions Weekly channel and say, "Hey, I raised my hand," and I'll come get you. So no worries about that. So next, I will go into Rocket's question, which was answered in the chat, but I'll answer it live. Do we think the DApp re-update is coming in days, weeks? What kind of time frame? And then from the great Isler, I'm sorry, man, I'm gonna totally butcher your name, but you know who you are. He said 2 to 3 weeks, and their deadline is September 11th. So should be a couple weeks here that we'll get that back live correctly, and that'll be good for all of us. All right, next here from Chronic Hill. Have we got an answer to what happens to the utility of Polar once we switch to stables? Okay, great question, actually. So, variety of different ways to look at that. Let's just look at it from how 3.5 was. I was trying to explain this to people in the chat, but many people missed it. But it's not the cleanest answer, but it's the answer that was 3.5, right? So right now, people don't buy Polar to the level that it doesn't meet the same demand of sell pressure as buy pressure, right? So that's where we are currently. Right now, the most of the node creations are your rewards accumulate, you claim them, and then you go and create nodes. You're not buying Polar when you do that. At no point are you buying Polar. You bought it a month ago, a day ago, 6 months ago, whatever the case might be. You bought it at one point, but you're not buying it now. You're claiming and creating. So when you flip that, well, let me play that out first. So when you do that and you create the node, it creates the node for you, of course. A certain percentage goes, I think it's like, I had it looked up before. Something like 90% goes back to the claims pool. I think it's even higher than that, actually. And then 5% to the treasury, 5% to the liquidity. I think it's actually like 98% or 99% and 0.5% is something very, very high, goes back to the claims pool. But regardless, let's play that through. So every time you buy and create a node, it's actually creating a sell pressure on the token, because in order to go to the treasury, it sells it for a stable coin. It sends a stable coin to the treasury. Now, it's a very small percentage right now, but nevertheless, it's still a little bit of a sell command. Then the next step, it sells half of what it needs to for the liquidity pool to create the LP token to then fund the LP. So let's just say that is at 5%. That's technically, you just claimed, created a node, and it's actually technically a sell on the token at every step. Now, let's flip this around a little bit. Let's say they were all in stables. What has really changed? Well, let's just say that you now are going to go sell your Polar tokens, which is, I guess, a lot of people will do. They'll just go sell them for stables. Then there's that one sale. Then they'll go back and buy. Now they buy that token, or they buy that node at a higher price than it was at before. And a portion, if not all, I think it was at 90% of that new higher price, goes to a buyback and burn mechanism. So once you buy with stable, you purchase it with DAI, for example, that DAI will then be utilized within the contract to go buy Polar token. And then from there, it takes 90% of that, sends that Polar token right to a dead wallet. That's how 3.5 was structured. Then 5% to the LP, 5% to the treasury. So it's not quite a direct utility, like in the sense of using it, but it was built into the contract, for which it wasn't simply like a farm token that is naturally inflationary and has zero buy pressure at any point. This allows it to basically have a buy pressure built into the contract itself, which in theory is a great idea. It's actually relatively positive. There's been other protocols that have done this over time, and it generally does pretty well. But I think a better way to look at it might be to split it, say, hey, Cubo did it at one point where they had 50% of a stable coin, 50% of their token, almost like an LP. And that's how you mint their nodes. They ended up losing steam too. So obviously, you're just changing the mechanics. You're not changing the actual game itself. You're just changing how the game is looked at. So that being said, that isn't a utility in any sense. That's a buy pressure on the token from the contract. A utility would be like what we talked about a little bit ago, a staking and different things involving the Polar token with the games and stuff like that there. So those would be more utilities compared to, I think, what we'd be looking at even with 3.5 and further on from there. But even with 4.0 and the stable coins, they are designed to then purchase Polar token through the contract as well. So that's where the buy pressure is coming in through the actual contract. When people create tokens, when people buy potions, that it then creates a buy pressure within the contract to buy Polar tokens. All right, cool. Whew. All right, so great question there. Next question from Donovan. What will happen to the node's new price after rollback? So they all are currently what they were before, Donovan. So pretend like the last 2 or 3 days never occurred. All of the node prices are back at to where they were prior to that. And that's all defined under my V3 FAQ section in the Discord or on the DApp. They're all the right prices on there. All right, next one, Cosmic Renegade. Allowing all nodes to be tradable, selling on the marketplace. Specials and non-specials will be a hit. You mentioned it. What do you think? Can we make this happen? So I think you'd have to make it happen in congruency with a node hard cap. And, I know, you know what? I don't care. I like the team too. So Hive has their NFT marketplace. What's it called? Not Polygon, whatever it's called. I'm sorry, blanking the name. Anyway, it's a good system, kind of similar to how ours is, but theirs is a little bit more diverse, for which they can host other guys on there as well. But basically, what I'm trying to get at is it's an internal, basically closed marketplace, right, where they have control over how the mechanics work. Unlike OpenSea, where it's less controllable, it's more open. So with that being said, let's say nodes were hard capped today. You could set Everest floor price in the marketplace to 1,050 Polar, or set it to, whatever you want to do there. Basically say, hey, some version of stable coins that translates to current cost of Polar. However you want to work it. You could set a floor price within our own marketplace, and then that would be great from there. Now, why would we... couple ways to look at that. Why would we not have it without the hard cap? Well, one, where is the Polar going? Someone goes and pays you for your node, and now what percentage goes back to the claims pool and all that other stuff? Not a whole lot, probably 5%, unlike now where it's 90+%. So you need to kind of make it in congruency with a hard cap. Yeah, you kind of reaffirm that there. I think that could be something that we should look into. We already have this marketplace. Like, it's clearly something that it was cool when we did it. No one had it. I don't think Hives was even live when we put ours live. So we had something cool back then. We should use it well. And I'm not sure what the capabilities of it are. I honestly don't know. I'm not a Solidity dev. I cannot go into the code and say, oh yeah, this is what it all says, because I don't know. That's not my forte. But I think we at least could refine it to hold that kind of volume. So that'd be kind of interesting to look into. And it's kind of neat, in my opinion. Anyway. All right, here we go. Sergeant Slicksta. Is Polar currently talked of any other protocols regarding any partnerships? As of right now, we are not in, concrete talks with partnerships. Partnerships are different in this space, and there's different advantages to them. So trying to find them that are mutually advantageous are interesting. Sorry, that was a sympathetic yawn because I've been talking for 48 minutes. Wasn't that because I'm tired? I'm actually pretty wired right now, so we're all good. But that being said, we're not in any hard conversations there. Like I said, we are working with another team in order for a mini game to occur, and that would be kind of cool. They're basically a development team. They're not like another protocol out there that's kind of doing its thing. So stuff like that, we've always kind of been like that way at Polar, and I think I talked about it a long time ago. I personally like the idea of working with other projects, but it does have pros and cons. And quite simply, what will happen, which this is why I don't want to. I'm straight up with you guys. That's all good. So when we had Colin in here from Hive, if you guys recall, Salty got a little bit upset. For me, I'm okay with it. I actually like having that conversation. Salty didn't love that combo. I actually have never addressed this publicly, so shout out to all you guys for getting some alpha, because you're about to get it now. Colin is really good at what he does. He's very sales pitchy in how he talks, and it's not a negative by any means. I just talked to Colin on the phone yesterday. I like the guy personally, and I'll likely work together with him personally in the future. I like the guy very much so and his ideas. But when a project comes up here, and if they're that sales pitchy to their own project, let's say we have 63 in this audience, and 5 of you are not happy, or 20 of you, or 60 of you are not happy. Well, it's kind of like selling their golden egg to an unhappy audience, and that's why Salty got upset a little bit back then, because he felt like they were trying to poach our audience, and that's kind of the stuff you have to watch out for, in a sense. Personally, I don't take it that way. I think really what Colin was trying to do is just say, hey, this is what we are, this is what we're doing, and then from there we're going to steer it in the conversations of the Polar to Hive sort of talk there, right? So there was a reason that they reached out to us, and it wasn't to steal our audience. It was to try to build something. So you have to work through some of that there. And even if there is some risk involved, which investors might cross invest, I don't see that as a bad thing. So we can probably kick those conversations back up. I have another call with Colin next week about some other stuff going on in life. So I'll try to, just gauge that sort of conversation. But I wouldn't really focus on that right here. We got to take care of our own house a little bit, get some of these things live, and I think that's the best way for us to handle that right now. So definitely appreciate a lot that's going on within our community and also with other projects as well. I maintain very, very positive relationships with everybody. So even those who have been critical of us over time, generally by the time I'm done having a conversation with them, maybe they don't love Polar, but they don't hate us either, right? So that's a good thing. And that's the way to do it. We're a business, right? We don't need to go to war with people, but we also don't have to necessarily partner with people. It's not really up to me to do and to orchestrate. I know Sam is in here as well. He's worked with people in different things. There's a few ideas kind of mulling around. We just got to see if we can bring them to life over time. So hopefully some positives can come out of that. I'd almost would rather our own system to be working for us. But I think partnerships aren't a bad thing. It at least gets a name back around there. And it gives me more AMAs to do, which I like to do them. So it's a good thing. All right, here, took a deep breath because we are 52 minutes into me talking straight nonstop for life, which is fantastic. So again, guys, if you do please have any questions, simply request to speak here. I'll bring you up live or post on that AMA Questions Weekly channel. I will say that the chat engagement is down a little bit, but the attendance is actually pretty good usually. So I definitely appreciate you guys there. You guys are engaged, and I love that. So, we were one of the craziest teams, craziest families back in February, March, taking over the world, raiding all Twitters, all that good stuff. And I think we can get back there, but the market sentiment and our drop and a lot of things kind of take the wind out of the sails, so to speak. So it's all good. We kind of navigate through it. We're still here working, though. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I wasn't a little bit down mentally back in May, because if you guys don't recall, I went crypto full time on May 18th. Shout out to that. But that also was in direct concurrence with the markets going to trash. So that was a little stressful, right? But we get through it, and that's just life, right? And we kind of all thrive and find our own way from there. And quite frankly, if I've learned so much from this crash and from the highs and lows, and from working with the community for each way, and even working with the people within the community that invested, I don't want to say too much, but definitely more than they were comfortable with in DeFi when it went down. I can sympathize with that. Now, granted, I don't like to put myself. I have a financial background, so I'm never going to put myself in a hole. But I was also a crazy high investor to this protocol and many others prior to them taking a big hit. So I feel you. It is what it is here, and it just looks. We kind of navigate through it. We keep working, keep trending. Enor is still all on board. I'm still all on board. Our dev team, Josh, and I'm going to butcher your name, but Eisler, you got to tell me to pronounce that so I can actually shout you out on the AMA. But we're all working hard. Julian is on the Discord, but on the chat because he's not feeling well. Stax is in the Discord every day, working hard as a mod. So everyone here is working, and we're all motivated for the bigger cause, for the greater thing. And we all know it has to funnel back I Hasler. Perfect. I Hasler. So hopefully I can remember that in my brain, and we will work on that in the future as well as I shout you out. I Hasler. Definitely appreciate that, man. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so sorry if I can have a northern accent when I'm tired. That's how you know if I'm a little exhausted, is I'll have a little bit of a Yankee accent going on there. But definitely appreciate you guys every step of the way. Love it here. All right, cool. So I filibustered that last like 5 minutes, shouting you guys out, shouting out the team, shouting out the community. Does anyone else have any questions here? Honestly, my schedule's open. I'm here for you. This is our time to chat with you guys. I'll get this stats report posted here very shortly, assuming I do have access to that channel. Cool. I'll get that posted up here. Wasn't going to try to do it in multitask because my brain would have wandered out and you might have heard me reading off numbers instead of talking to you guys. So that's no good and no fair to you either. So no one's typing here and no one's requested to speak. So hey, I just want to say thank you guys all for joining into this community AMA here on this weekly community Polar AMA. I expect to have more information for you literally every day, every week as we start navigating through it. I actually feel like this was a positive overall on the week here. So I'm going to post these financial reports. Check them out. They're under the technical changelog channel, right below announcements, you'll find the financial updates report. I'll post that in there of that last week, and we will start posting those ideally weekly, if not bi-weekly, to give you guys good transparency on how this money venture is going from the outside revenues. But until then, as I just make sure one last time that no one has typed into the AMA Questions Weekly channel or in the general chats, and no one has. So I just want to say, hey, shout out to all you guys here. Thank you again for joining our weekly Polar Community AMA on this beautiful August 24th, 2022. And then next week, as always, same time, same place, 8 p.m. UTC on Wednesday will be where we join up here and through the chats all week. So shout out to all you guys. We will talk to you all through the week and again next week. And appreciate all of you for coming out. Peace.